Well, I didn't want to be shot painting all this stuff and getting grit all in here, so I'm just wire wheeling everything. All we're doing is just cleaning stuff up so it looks like it's brand new.
Is that cable working there now?
Yeah. Remember, it only moves a little bit. This makes it take a corner around the back of the engine, and then the tranny's here, and then the fork gets pulled in and out. So this bolts up right there.
We shot painted all our pieces there. Looking good. Got this welded up. We have a $1,200 box of parts right here. We're putting on the bike. They weld up a little cracker there.
Well, I just know that a lot of my friends didn't like them once they were loose. But sometimes if you take a corner too sharp and you're really scraping the sides, you'd want them to flip up. But a lot of guys would want them stiff so that when they want them up, they stay up because you're doing something underneath there and you don't want them just being loose.
We're leaning into this on a corner. We're going to chase these threads out and try and straighten these studs a little bit.
I had to heat it up. I got the studs straight. There's tapped. Then this kind of went like this, you know. A lot of force happens when you get in an accident. You must have hit something. The crash bars, the gas tank you saw was dinged in. The handlebars were bent. And this got bent too. So it didn't lay flat on here. There was like a V here. And then we beat this down into submission. And when it's flat, we're putting new rubbers on here to look like they're brand new.
Got a first coat on everything here. We're going to start working on some controls. Got new sheaths for the throttle and the timing adjust. Replacing the electrics inside of it.
Nothing worse than these things rattling on a Harley. A lot of times I'll be riding, I just stick my fingers over the top of the handlebar because you get sick of them.
We got it all fished through. These are held in with these tiny little set screws. Of course, these holes are spaced a little bit too close. Take the pointy die grinder and try to open them up a little bit. These are the controls that were on there. It was getting pretty chafed up where it came out of that fork.
Plus they're all corroded in there.
Yeah, this one had a bunch of tape on it. The high-low switch came with some new screws. I put those on the horn. We put two of the old crappy screws on the bottom there. The throttle and the timing adjust cable attached to this, we were actually missing one, but we got one from 45 Restorations.
This fits exactly on the inside of the, this is outside diameter is the same as the inside diameter as the handlebars. And you cut the cable and make it fit. So as it goes into the handle grip, you're turning the grip, it's pulling it back and forth. One's for throttle and one is for, usually you just retard the timing to start it, and then as you're accelerating, they just lock it. They didn't be doing this kind of stuff.
The little slot inside of the grip grabs a hold of this piece here, and then it spirals down in there as you turn this.
A lot of the old bikes had it. Even my old Femi 50 had this type of setup where the wires are hidden inside the handlebars. You gotta imagine when guys are making custom motorcycles that are really expensive and they don't want wiring and cables all hanging from the handlebars. They want it as clean as possible. So a lot of people go back to this device where the cables are going through the handlebars. Then when they got them ape hangers, they don't have all these cables hanging down, and it makes it look a lot cleaner.
We ended up getting a new taillight for it. I think the idea was that the light would refract properly, plus it's nice and chrome. Came with a nice thick gasket too. Because we got this fender locked in place, we had to take this wheel back off. Complete nightmare.
I think the lens is a lot better. You know, you can see the clear part where the light comes right through the center. This is a lot clearer up here for shining up at the license.
Chrome is nice. It was $36. I think it was $36 well spent. Rear wheel on in about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It's getting
better. So you can see how this pivots within here. And then you see this part is stationary on the handlebar. So when you put this on, then you can line up this hole, and then set screws will hold that.
We'll thread the cables in later, but we got all our pieces together. Everything's working good.
Hand grips are cleaned up too.
Yeah, no need to replace them really.
And if you look, there's holes where you could put tassels in there. Somebody made a comment about that. So we wanted a seat that was more contoured, not that big buddy seat for two people. And you can buy them brand new, $250, but it should look a lot nicer than that thing that was way high and sits. It was big. This one looks like it'll be pretty comfortable on your butt. So you'll see how the same T-bracket touches there and there.
We got a clevis pin too and spring. Got to figure out how that attaches it to the post. Ditch this hardware and just put some bolts in here. Trying to keep the seat as low as possible. Put it in the rearmost position.
And then we had this little clip that goes through here, and they give you a spring. You see these little nubbins. I bet you we tried it to 10 different ways until you finally find out you want it so that you can lift the seat really easy, and you just be lifting that up, taking the tension off. Looks so simple right now, but I had it upside down. I had it on the other ones. I was like, how in the hell is this going to work? I got it.
I'm thinking we need some
That's
more.
it.
We need some more spring.
Oh, you can tighten up the ram, remember, from underneath?
We already had it preloaded. I mean, when I sit on this, it's sacked out. Look at these pants. Even with him, what do you weigh, 160?
180.
I think the seat looks pretty good though.
If you had one that was frame mounted right here on the fender, then you'd be really low. That's what I like.
You can see that leather strip on that seat pretty easy. I don't know why they didn't dye that black. We'll probably color it or do something with it.
Nobody makes a replacement for this, so we got to cut and patch. Now these brackets are all in fixed places that bolt up to the fender, underneath the frame, and then the other frame. It's cradled between. And the leads come out, so everywhere it's rusted, we're going to make a patch, and the solid part is this bracket. So we'll just cut it to there and then weld to it.
This corner is still good. We're going to cut it at about the same. Just take this whole panel and we'll underlay it and have a 90 on this side.
It must be really thin there.
And now we can get in here and you can see they have multiple layers in this box. We're going to take some of that rotted stuff off. We sandblasted in there as good as we could.
Just getting this shit out of here.
I'm going to cut those out with a torch. We get the die grinder in there now. And this side you don't really see because the outer bracket is there. I think I'm going to cut some of that rusty metal out anyhow. We just rolled that whole piece back with the chisel. We're going to get it out of there. We got to straighten this out. It's getting pretty flimsy, so we just tack that piece we're saving.
Just save that distance.
So here's the homemade brake. This was a government project. Gotta use a couple of grips. So try to get it to about a 90.
Well, you show them you got the marks. And when you bend metal, some of the material gets used up in the curve.
Yeah, so we actually cut this a little long and we can trim it to fit the box. This edge here.
Sometimes you don't want to go. You get almost 90, but you don't want to go all the way, and you gotta jam it.
Let's see what we got.
Because these posts come out the side, these have notches. You'll see the other side. Well, no, that is the side. So we got to make the opposite over here and notch it out so the metal will be relieved. Otherwise, this would be going arcing. So you have to have enough clearance and you don't short out. We got this piece and we got that piece already made. So we're gonna cut that off and fix this up. Then the cover will fit on a decent thing.
Got the Roper Whitney. If you weld it to the inside, you won't even see it. We've been gripping it and then tacking it, trying to get it a big inside opening as possible.
Right, because the battery's tight.
So we're going to show you how the battery fits in here. We've been working on this for like 4 hours. Top's a little tricky. You got to get it on there just so. I think we're going to fit it to the bike. Make sure these brackets line up and everything before we prime it up.
We'll stick a little mud on there and paint it.
We fit the battery box to the bike. We ended up taking like 1/8 off of this piece because it's tight up on that lid.
Yeah, and then the lid, in order for these holes to line up, it would have been hit the lid.
And then we didn't want to tweak it down real hard, so we actually opened that hole up a little bit. And we'll just put a washer on the bolt. And
We had to bend these.
yeah, if she lines up perfectly now, it slips right in. Bad Chad says, put it on, then play with it.
Okay. We got it all with our fingers.
We got the seat post back out of it. Got a heavy duty spring kit for it. Some of these springs are pretty beat up. And the guys at 45 Restoration said you should have this if you're a bigger dude, like over 200 pounds. They're saying that these are made for like 160 pound guys. Could have preloaded it more, but I'm gonna try this. And then we'll just keep preloading it until we get it to where it's not bottoming out every time you sit on it. No instructions here. It appears we have 7 springs there and 6 springs on this. So I ended up using that longer spring instead of that and eliminating one of these. We got all the free play out of this and there's still travel in it. So we'll see if we can get the rest of this on here now. I had to pull down with all my might on these to get this started. We had to get this on far enough to get the bottom locking nut on. So we'll install it and see how it feels.
That's a working seat now.
Yeah, you can
If I flew over a jump, I'd bottom out. But usually when you do this and you got the footboards, when you see a bump coming, you kind of tighten up your legs and you try to prepare yourself for train track.
Yeah, we could probably tighten it a little bit more, but at some point you come into a coil bind on that pogo stick.
Right.
And we don't want to do that.
And
We got a new switch for our dash. I think I'm going to try to resurrect these light sockets. Otherwise, I'm thinking we're going to have to actually replace this whole piece. So I'm going to try to solder a new wire on there if that's possible. So you can see that that's still plugged. So you got the air hose? Yep. Alright, now we get a wire through there and solder her in. Nope, go up with it. You went down too far. Contamination in it. We can file that down at whatever height we need. So the signal wire goes to this insulated post. It goes through the post to that wire we're replacing to the fixture. And then both fixtures are grounded to a common point, which also appears to be on the insulated post. Here's what that ended up looking like. And we'll test it out for you. I think this nut's going to show on that dash, so we got a new dash screw kit, chrome nut. Dash is temporarily on there. Well, still same way at that. The insulation is all coming undone on this piece. I mean, it's like still soaked. So we got a new one. I'll assemble it. Comes with a cover. We ended up getting a new brake lever for it. This one would have worked. This one does look quite a bit better though. It was relatively affordable too.
Well, I just didn't like the way it brakes rattle. This is brand new and it's going to rattle. When they're at a stop, you go, yeah. And I put plastic in there. And then I didn't like the way it was sitting, but actually the brake, there's switches on the left hand, and the front brake is on the left hand side, you know, like where a clutch would be, but we're going to have a foot clutch. So this mounts like that.
Had to be stepped out pretty far because of these controls here. The brake cable. We've got this bracket that holds the brake cable to the bars. It needs to be painted. And this goes on the lever. Here's the device that tensions it. Looks like there's a chunk of old cable stuck in there. I'm gonna see if I can get that out. There it is, it popped right out. I've been sanding on this box for, I'd say at least a solid 2 hours tonight.
Well, it was all wavy. So it's got to be blocked out. This is at 36, but I still got some wave up here. I'm going to do that. And hopefully by the end of the night, then I'm getting 80.
Here it is in primer, and I think it looks pretty darn good. Hats off to Paul for sanding on that all night.